Good evening, guys, and welcome to this next episode of Keep You in the Loop podcast. Today, it's a very jam-packed episode. We've got a lot to talk about. Joined by my co-host Joe from Theme Park Insanity, and a special guest today is Wolf Raging 95, the No Limits 2 Extraordinaire, the B&M King, and all that good stuff. But yeah, so how you doing, guys? You okay?
All right, how are you?
Not
Hello.
Not bad, thank you. So we're just gonna. What I'm gonna say is, guys, this is a live podcast, so we won't be taking questions until about halfway through. Um, we don't know if anybody's in the chat yet, but we're just gonna crack on, I think, with the first topic of the podcast and Flamingo Land. So, Joe, over to you. This is your bread and butter, pal.
Certainly is. It's a very, very well-known topic that we cover here on the podcast. And yet again, we have another step forward in construction. So, as of about a day ago, they started doing what's called a pull-through, or also known as envelope testing as well. So 2 cars of the train were put on the track. They started to proceed in pulling them through the track to test for any major problems that might be there since installing the track itself. And this is obviously the preempt of them actually doing full-on testing. So, this is a strong landmark for the construction itself. And I wish we shared quite a fair few sort of pictures, from the park itself from various different sources on Theme Park Insanity. But we're also extremely excited to see this happening. So that means, as I said, we are getting one step closer to actually seeing this thing testing as well. I'm very, very excited for this. What are your thoughts on this, guys?
Wolf, do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
it's really exciting. It looks good. It looks like a brand new ride to me. Yeah, I like it. It looks pretty good so far.
Definitely does. I
Now,
mean, it is.
am I right in thinking that the pull through is because it's been sat at Hoppy Harry for so long?
I would imagine that's the case because it has been in storage for around about at least 8 years. In fact, I think it's been a little bit longer than that.
Right.
So, since installing it, their first primary thing is going to be to make sure that the track is as smooth as possible, that everything's
Yeah.
connected as it should be.
Yeah.
And with the fact that Intermin, we believe, are on site until the 15th as well, people are there to obviously do any work that needs doing to rectify anything that needs doing prior to testing. I mean, obviously, as we all know, that, if they just threw a train on the tracks and started sending it round, there is a strong potential for damage. So the pull through would ensure that that doesn't happen. But it's great to see them finally doing that. It really is. So.
And it's and so the creation that Wolf did for us, and then we kind of like took it and added loads of theming and stuff to it, like rocks and trees and all that kind of stuff,
which was incredible.
It looks like they're adding that kind of stuff though to the ride. Like from what I've seen from being shared by Raymond and everybody else over at Flamingo Land, crazy,
Yeah.
It really does look like they're adding some sort of theming to this ride now. Am I right in thinking last time we spoke about the pirate theme being rumored? Is that still a heavy rumor up in the up at north?
It is, and nothing's officially confirmed. But having said that, if you look at recent developments on site, they've now officially dug out quite a deep sort of pit, where the final turnaround section is, and lined that with rocks. We have quite a large pressurized water tank, which has gone in just underneath Velocity's launch, we believe. If you couple all that together, the fact that they do use those for quite large water features as well, and then you also bring in the the paint testing, etc. on the coaster, it's all strongly pointing towards that being the case. It's good, strong evidence. I mean, again, nothing officially confirmed. Still waiting on it from Flamingo Land themselves, but it's looking very likely as far as we can tell.
So we know now from inside our bubbles and from our sources that June is heavily rumored as well for opening time, right?
The June 27th, we believe, is the rumoured opening date again. As I said, nothing confirmed, but that's what we believe. And it would fall in line with our recent predictions in terms of the opening. We did initially say June/July. Obviously, late June. It does meet that, so it's looking likely. Yeah, definitely.
Good. That's cool. So, obviously, Flamingo Land are really proud of this, what they're doing, this big investment.
So they should be.
Yeah, they should. It was nice to see Sean up there with the construction update when it was happening. It was nice to also see that they're sticking to their word and saying that they're not working with vloggers or bloggers after an email we sent to them. So, and he was outside of the construction zone, which actually proves that he's probably the most successful theme park YouTuber in the UK. And to say, but I'm happy that they've been transparent about that, and they've stuck to the word, and They trust us as, you know, as enthusiasts to just carry on hyping it up, really, because that's all we're going to do now.
I mean, effectively, yeah, we're doing half their job for them. You know, the
Yeah.
markets have already got a good amount of it already covered by us guys. So, you know,
Yeah, I know. It
it's all
doesn't
good
seem
for
like
them,
they
really,
do
at the end.
much of that at Flamingo Land. Don't get me wrong, they push like the hotels and the caravans and all that stuff, but in terms of actually attractions, I don't see anything that stands out in terms of marketing from Flamingo Land. It'd be nice to see them step that up with this ride, and I think it could open the floodgates up for more marketing from their park and actually realize that people do like that kind of content and they enjoy the hype, they enjoy, you know, being immersed in it all. And
Exactly.
as a package, that ride delivered well could do really well for Flamingo Land and the UK, to be honest with you.
It really could, and it could help secure the park's future as well. Give them that extra burst of life that they need, and just really put the park back on the map where it deserves to be. I mean, you're obviously saying about sort of the marketing side. What they actually did for Dino Stone was quite a strong marketing campaign.
Right.
It's probably not as strong as it could have been, but couple that with a theme in there as well. That's probably one of their more successfully marketed sort of packages in the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
But as you said, if they put the right amount of attention and the right amount of detail into this, they could really bring something special. So,
All right, cool. So,
right.
our next topic, speaking of things testing, but before we do that, just going to say, guys, if you are watching this is a live podcast, so get your questions in as we will come to them in the chat. We'll say hello to everybody like we usually do during the live streams. This is basically just a live stream, but us talking instead of you watching Ride Sims or No Limits 2 or Planet Coaster or anything. We currently have 8 people watching, so thank you so much. Let's hit that like button. Let's have a thumbs up party. Let's put them thumbs up as if you're about to dispatch the smiler. Let's do it. Come on, guys. And yeah. So anyway, on to the next topic of the podcast, which is Iron Gwazi.
What a beast.
What an absolute feat of engineering. That thing looks insane.
It really does.
Absolutely insane. And I can't believe that it does half the shit it does, to be honest with you.
No. I mean, it just looks...
it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, Wolf, you're more the expert in this field in terms of RMCs because some of your layouts are absolutely like, just insane. I mean, some of the stuff you've done for us as well, like Metal you did for us on CoasterGen and another amount of rides that you've done for us. But with RMC, you seem to know more about the limitations of what it can and can't do. And does Iron Gwazi surprise you in that respect, even though it's not in No Limits anymore?
it's a unique ride. I know a lot of people compare it to like Steel Vengeance and say, oh, it doesn't look as good as Steel Vengeance, but to be honest, I've never been on Steel Vengeance, but I can say that a lot of people's biggest critic with Steel Vengeance is that it's very repetitive near the end of the ride.
Yeah.
Where this ride won't have repetition like that.
Not at all.
That's
a very good point. That's a very good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and that downward barrel roll on Iron Gwazi looks really good too, by the way.
It looks really intense.
Yeah, I think they were saying that was like the reverse element of what's on Steel Vengeance after the, I think, second turnaround after the drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that like that. I forgot what they call it, but yeah, I think it's like a reverse of that.
And you always tell me, Wolf, when we're doing RMC creations in NL2, it's like they like to do rising rolls. So for them to flip it, like Shilky just to do a Shilky flip and just flip it over. What does that make you feel like? Like, oh, now we've got a new element to play with in No Limits now kind of thing. Does that make you feel like that? Or like if you did it before they did it, it wouldn't be accepted in a way, would it, in the NL2 community? Because everyone's on realism and simulation and all that stuff. But
yeah, basically, if that manufacturer didn't do it in real life, you're basically just making things up if they didn't do it first. So if someone did the stall, for example, before then, you'd been like, if you did the stall before RMC did, you'd probably be called crazy, unrealistic. But yeah, those elements definitely are different. The downward barrel roll on that ride kind of reminds me of the barrel roll drop that you see on a lot of the RMCs, the inverted drop. It kind of reminds me of that.
Does Wicked Cyclone do that? Is it Wicked
Cyclone?
No.
It's
what's it called? I know which one it is though. Is it the one in Mexico?
It's at King's Dominion.
There's
The
one
one in
in-
Mexico does it too.
Yeah, what's the
I
one in
wanna say it's
Mexico called?
It's called I think it was Medusa. I think they called it.
That's the one. That's the one I'm
They
thinking of.
I think they called it Medusa Steel Coaster.
Wow.
I think is what they called it.
That name does ring a bell, actually. Yeah.
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 And then the one at King's
That
Dominion.
was one of the earlier RMC designs as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first one that had the barrel roll drop.
Ah.
And then you had was it Wicked Cyclone? Or no, not Wicked Cyclone. I'm sorry. It's
That's the one I keep getting confused with. Yeah,
I always get them mixed up.
Yeah.
It's a Kentucky Kingdom. I always get the name mixed up. Storm Chaser. There we go. Storm Chaser.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the first US inverted drop. But what's the other one in King's Dominion? I'm about to look it up because I'm like
Googling on it. Dun, 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 dun. There you go.
Classic.
Yeah, there you go.
We definitely need a jingle for that. We really
do. Yeah, I need a button to press.
the button every time.
Twisted Timbers.
Mm.
Ironically, with that ride too, every turn on that ride is a right-hand turn.
Wow.
Is it?
Ironically, yeah. There's
Wow.
not
Circles, yeah.
I remember doing a ride on No Limits about 4 years ago. I got absolutely ruined and buried by people for doing an all right-hand turn ride. Shilky, I hear you, brother.
Like King's Dominion, just go ahead and do it anyway, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we know CoasterGen got heat for this, but we're gonna do it anyway.
And they made it a success, but you know.
It was naturally developed heat, though, Wolf. It wasn't just
Right.
It wasn't just throwing the same thing at you 500 times a week, you know. All right, guys. So go on. You got.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, in terms of Angwazi, you could sort of compare it to Steel Vengeance. I mean, Steel Vengeance is primarily an airtime machine. Am I right? You know, it's just one lot of airtime after the other. This thing here just looks to be just all out insane from what I can see, and the speeds it reaches, you know, when it goes around some of those elements. Just
oh my god,
incredible.
Yeah, that tip out, that outwards bank.
The station just looks amazing. It really does. So I'm looking forward to the POV for this. I really can't wait for it. I hope it drops soon.
They better do it in 4K at 60 frames. I'll be pissed if they don't do that. So just to let people know in the chat, we will get to the chat once we get through the next topic, guys. And we will address every single one of you personally as well, the questions. So get your questions in now, and we'll be getting to that point in about 20 minutes into the podcast. We're 12 minutes in now. So we try and keep these to about an hour long. But we're going to have to talk about a horrible situation now, guys, about the coronavirus. I shouldn't have said that, because if we ever get monetized, we'll get demonetized straight away, but I don't care. It needs to be spoke about. A lot of people have said this to me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all over the place. Do we think that it will affect the UK theme park scene and the US theme park scene? We've already seen it close Disneyland in Shanghai. Disneyland Paris have pulled all cast members interacting with members of the public. So, I mean, I have my opinions on this. Now, with things such as the NBA, NHL, MLB, the football leagues, the Europa League as well, these are big organizations and don't take these decisions lightly. I have to say, especially, the one that stands out to me more than anything is Wrestlemania. Now, WWE are very controversial in what they get up to. I'm a massive wrestling fan. Wolf is as well. You are as well, Joe. But I don't remember a point in time ever when a wrestling show was going to get cancelled for the WWE. Now, if that happens, it's going to have a knock-on effect in the whole economy, basically. I can see Six Flags closing. I can see everything else closing down, even Alton Towers, even Fort Park, all the main attractions, all public gatherings with over 500 people or more, outside or inside, it doesn't matter. I can see it being a problem, and I can see it actually affecting us maybe further down the line, not in the next couple of weeks, but maybe in the next month or so. Boris Johnson today addressed the nation and said, take 7 days off work if you don't feel well, stay at home, basically. And yeah, just to address someone, Dead Rose Gamer, do you think coronavirus will affect the theme park industry? I heavily do. If it's not
doing so already.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, guys, right? That as much as this is a horrible thing to be going through, and how, you know, crazy it is in the world right now, just think back to all them events in history, and think about, I wonder what it was like for them back in history. We are now, right now, in this very moment in time, we are part of history. This is, when was the last time the NBA stopped playing basketball because of something like this? When was the last time, you know, NHL stopped? When was the last time that football matches got played in stadiums with no fans in? This is a massive time in leisure, and in, obviously, in the whole industry as a whole. And the economic state of the world is really in peril at the moment. You're seeing stock markets drop, you're seeing all kinds of stuff happening. But you've got to remember, if you don't get to Alton Towers on opening day, you can say to your grandchildren, you know, we couldn't go because of this. This is how bad it was. And then in 3 months' time, we'll all get back on the Smiler, 13, Wicker Man, Nemesis. Everyone will start going on holiday again. It'll get back to normal. It's just going to take a lot of time. And don't worry, guys. We've got you. If you have to stay at home, whatever, we've got a lot of content we can produce for you guys to watch on our channel. So subscribe if you haven't, because we've got plans. We've got plans in place if this happens. We're actually planning on doing a lot of live streams. So just to let you guys know, just a cheap plug and a horrible point in the podcast, but we do have plans to give you guys more content, more competitions, that kind of stuff. So just to get people involved and make people kind of feel like, you know, they can turn to CoasterGen on our channel just to escape everything that's going on, really. Because this is the only time we're ever going to mention this stuff, is in these podcasts, because we get a lot of opinions in the chat. Everybody's got an opinion on it. I know you've got a kid yourself, Joe, and you must be worried, like the schools and everything, like schools in Ireland have closed. I think it's only a matter of time, even with like Fort Park adding hand sanitizers to the park in their press release and stuff like that. I'm sure Alton Towers have done the same. And Flamingo. And tell you what, everyone's probably all done it, to be honest with you. I work in a leisure centre and I know they've done it. So everyone in this industry is doing it. So that being said, it's going to be a matter of time when it does happen. We will probably get stopped meeting up in public in big groups and stuff, and in big events, but it will only be for a certain amount of time, guys. And just look after yourself, stay safe, do what they've told you to do. You know, don't sing Happy Birthday. Think of a theme park tune you can sing instead in your head. You know, that'd be so much better.
I mean, all I do want to say is, obviously, you know, yeah, okay, if, as Luke said, you know, it could more than likely do so. We are an online community. We're all right here on the end of a computer. We can all chat to each other via the absolute marvel that is the internet. And it's a really horrible time, it is. But at the end of the day, you know, it's, as he said, it's part of history. And it is something that will be remembered for a long time too. So, you know, there's a lot of different sort of sides to it. And, you know, also, again, I do have a 4-year-old. I am quite considerably worried, obviously, for the school situation. Now, I do have the benefit of being the fact that I'm a full-time father, so it does take sort of the childcare pressure off myself a little bit. But having said that, it doesn't make me any less worried for any of my family, you know, overall. And I'm sure everybody else is feeling exactly the same thing. But rest assured, guys, we are absolutely here for each other 100%.
Absolutely.
And I just want to stress that. So, you know.
And we will continue to provide content, updates, NL2 streams, the lot, and we'll continue to do the podcast. And I know that Wolf is in the States, and it's obviously a bit more crazy there. They've gone for a bit more of a radical way of dealing with things, but I think that I think it's the right thing to do, and I don't think we'll be far off you, to be honest, Wolf, in what's happened here. So do you just want to tell us, like, what the major things that have, like, really changed in the last 3 or 4 days for you guys in the States? Like, what?
Well, as you know, well, if you don't know, flight, I'm not exactly sure 100% on the flight stuff. I just found about this morning. It just went into effect as of midnight. So basically starting the 12th of March, with flight stuff now. As in theme park, I believe Six Flags is going to be adding back the sanitizers, sanitizer little like things at the exit of each queue now, or exit of each ride.
So a lot
they
more
had them
then.
there about, they had them they had those about 10 years ago, and I think they're adding those back. Disney's doing something with the those like portable like sinks or whatever those were. I'm not really sure what those were exactly, but
Right.
I don't know if other parks are gonna follow with that. Six Flags did put out a uh, CV uh, like thing, like what their plan was, kind of.
Press release, yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did something for CV. Let's see what else happened. I think that's really all I can think of at the moment that happened that I
And
can
your stores are
remember.
going crazy as well, like ours are as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Gaming Cheaters just said that. I know I said we'd address the chat soon, but we're gonna try and jump off this subject soon, guys. But just just make sure you all follow the advice, and if you don't feel well, don't travel to these places. And if you do feel well, then go. And if you don't feel well after, then self isolate. That's the only thing what
Exactly.
people are saying, and that's the only thing we can do. But if Alton Towers say we're open, then I'm there. You don't have to tell me twice. So that's my opinion on it. And we hope that we haven't offended or upset or caused anybody any sadness or anything in the chat tonight, because we're not about that here at CoasterGen. We're about fun and exciting times and all that kind of stuff. So that being said, guys, should we see what's going on in the chat?
Sounds good.
Access all theme parks experience. Hello guys, lovely channel, love watching your videos. Ben King,
Hello.
hi. The Gaming Cheater, hi. Theme Park Towers, hi. Yes, we are live. This is proof. Ryan Delaney, hi Ryan. Immelman Footers, nice to have you in here. Who else we got? Patrick McKee, hi. Santrinus, hello. Back again for another one, eh?
Welcome back.
Bully for you, well said. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Much.
Yeah. So you guys, do you guys have any questions? What do you think Secret Weapon 9 will be? Ooh. Joe, go.
Right, okay, so Secret Weapon 9. Well, to be honest, actually, I'm a little bit on the fence with it, really, because you got to take into account the fact that Alton Towers seems to be going more for the ride aspect, being the world first now, rather than the ride itself. Having said that, I would very much like to see an Intamin Blitz, and I know there are a lot of you out there that would like to see the same. Now, I think they could fit that in either at the bottom end of where Galactica is in that car park, instead of it being a car park. Again, space there potential. Or alternatively, maybe unpopular opinion here, but take Rita out and obviously replace it with that. So, I mean, from my perspective, that's kind of what I would like to see. But in terms of what actually will happen, I honestly don't know at this point. I'm really quite in the dark. What do you reckon?
Me? I'm not too sure. I don't think it's going to be for a while, so we need to kind of all agree to that, because their investment plans go coaster, family, normally a accommodation, and then back to the coaster. So you're talking about another 4 years yet, maybe. So the next big investment. I honestly don't have a clue. What I am suspicious of, very suspicious of, is at the moment Alton Towers is asking people a lot of questions like, what do you prefer? What do you want? Like this map thing they did with the crypt and that underground water coaster and stuff in X Sector, we're never going to see that, guys. But the fact that the marketing team out there is trying to, it feels like they're doing a bit of a survey, but without doing a survey, if you know what I mean. A bit of market research. What do people really want? Now, if they stick an R and an M and a C on it, then everybody's going to go, yep, we'll have that on the map. But they're not going to go ahead and do that. Same with Fort Park. I don't think they're going to go ahead and do that. So for me, I would probably like to, I would like to see maybe a max spinner, a max spinning coaster, somewhere around the Valleyway, or the a hyper, or even a drop tower in the actual gardens would be cool, because you could do it. You could go very high.
You could have the height, especially from the bottom of the valley as
well.
But
the problem is getting a lot of people down there. Hey, Chad. Say hello to Chad. I have to say hello to Chad every time he pops in. So, yeah, let us know in the comments, guys, what you think about Secret Weapon 9. Wolf, you got anything to add to that? What do you think it could be?
For which park was it again?
Oh, so Secret Weapon is always Alton Towers, dude. The next coaster for Alton Towers.
I always get mixed up because there's there's a few out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not sure. It's hard to say.
It is.
It is hard to say. That's really all I could say to that. As it is hard to say.
What do they need? Like, let's actually try and think about this right in the chat now, guys. Go through, like, all of you who are interacting with the chat.
Yeah.
Think about what Alton Towers could add to their catalog, and let us know now. Type in the chat, and we'll address them. But what do you think they need in their catalog of rides? Like, obviously, they need a water ride. They need something on them lines.
Well, I can think of one thing that they definitely need right now, but it's not a roller coaster. It's entirely different.
What's that?
A rather large selection of flat rides might do them some good, I think, especially with all the removals recently.
Yeah,
or even not even a large selection, just maybe like one or two more. I mean, they're taking out quite a few different ones, but yeah. Hello to you, CB Vlogs as well. But yeah, I think that's much needed, definitely.
Yeah, hi CB Vox. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Flat rides is probably the best way to go for the next couple of years. Instead of adding a coaster, maybe add some more flat rides. Gyro swings, good shout. What CB Vox has just put, that's a good shout. Let us know, guys. Don't be shy in the comments. Think about what could Alton Towers add to their catalogue of rides.
So Sandra Nurse says they need a new water ride. So they definitely need that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, a water coaster would be cool. Yeah, there you go. The gaming cheater just said it. Literally, I just said it. Yeah. So, right. Well, get your. Was there any more questions from the chat? There was a few. So in terms of the chat there, I think we're covered just for halfway through. We're at 26 minutes. So if we the suspended top spin, that's a cool idea as well. Keep them coming. We'll check them out in about 10 to 15 minutes time. Yeah, so we're gonna go into the next topic now. They can't build in the gardens, so best place would be Catania or Forbidden. I reckon they could do something if they got rid of pizza pasta in Catania Canyon.
That would open up quite a decent size space.
That is a big area before we move on. That is actually a really good shout. It is. And with water rides being removed left, right, and center. OSS Minty, I don't think I've ever seen you in the chat before. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're enjoying the podcast.
Welcome.
Yeah, New Flume refurb the Rapids. Yeah, so I actually think they might get rid of the Rapids and put maybe, like you said, an Intamin Blitz would follow the Rapids pretty sweet, like a Cheetah Hunt or something. I know Cheetah Hunt isn't an Intamin Blitz, but maybe imagine like a Cheetah Hunt, but going through the Rapids, with the mine train interaction and all that cool stuff. That'd be really cool.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah,
definitely. So Sibby Flog says it's not aged well, Jewel. Yeah. I don't know. I still really enjoy it.
I love Jewel. Yeah, Jewel's one of them for me where it's it's a chilling ride and you can relax. It's good for the families. It's good for if you've got a group of you and you're trying to have a bit of banter between you, trying to get the better high score and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, and it's one of them rides that was put in with at the same time as the mine train, and it really, helped cement Alton Towers into the theme park industry, didn't it?
Yeah. It's a really good, solid investment, and actually, Towers itself, it's literally the perfect setting for something like that as well. It's got that history surrounding it, so putting something like that in just only adds to it, doesn't it? Effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll stick to Alton Towers, and we'll slightly switch this up. So we're going to go back into the podcast now, guys. Thank you for giving us questions in the chat. We'll come back to the chat in roughly about 10-15 minutes time. So keep your questions coming in, keep your comments going, and think about what you could add to Alton Towers. We'll read some out at the end. And so we'll crack on with the podcast now. So Alton Towers, again, for some reason, now we reported this last November on CoasterGen's Facebook page from the Staffordshire Council actual planning website, that Alton Towers is planning on extending the car park and building 800 new spaces over to the left-hand side where currently the overflow car park resides for big event peak events. Now, do not get excited, right? This is my opinion, but for my industry, what I'm involved with, I pretty much know what the plans are. The plans are because grass gets wet, and when grass gets wet, you can't drive cars on it. So they're gonna just build a concrete car park basically, so they can actually hold more cars and people don't get stuck, and you don't have to go in certain places. You can open the area up for more guests, and it will also help with accommodation car parking as well. But you had a fantastic point on Facebook. Was that, well, I'll let you say it. Do you know which point I'm on about? about them extending Forbidden.
Indeed. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, there is the fact that with them doing this to that car park, they're creating all that extra space. Does that potentially mean we're thinking, or rather, they're thinking about maybe using that car park for future investment and future development? Now, you could potentially expand, as Luke just said, Forbidden Valley, putting a brand new SW down there. But not only that, you could potentially fit 2 new ones and create a brand new area entirely. So, are they thinking of that being a long term, maybe 5-10 years kind of plan sort of thing? Or is it simply just a case of creating this extra space for parking? Who knows? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments as well, guys. So please stick those in.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Well, what do you think, Wolf? Do you think that it's just going to be a car park for car park's sake, or they actually just, I've shown you Alton Towers on maps before. You know where Air does the turnaround?
Yes.
Galactica does the turnaround. Sorry, I always call it Air. Galactic Air does the
That's
turnaround.
okay.
Hashtag Galactica.
And where the car park is there, do you think they're going to remove that bit out and use the new car park and obviously extend Forbidden Valley out to the left-hand side over there?
That seems like that probably would be the route they'll probably go with it. Yeah, it's probably just extend it out. Like the Forbidden Valley. They could just be. How is parking at the park? Does it get overly crowded where they don't have?
I've never. I've been on. The only time it gets seriously packed and busy is fireworks for me. Even Skirfest isn't as bad as it used to be back in the day.
Actually.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't think it's that bad, which suggests to me that they're doing this. I think, Joe, you've hit the nail on the head, bro. The exit they've done next to Galactica to get back to the hotel when the park closes, is that foreshadowing a new area that's going to be built around there. I can really see that happening, and I could really see like a Vekoma going in there or something similar to like Energylandia, that kind of thing.
Really nice little addition to the park with that as well.
And that part of the park, guys, is so far away from the neighbors and so far away in terms of noise. I mean, you know how loud Nemesis is and how loud Galactica can be actually at that, to another point. Yeah. Even Ripsaw on its day, squeaky turns. It's
yeah, that kicked out some noise as well.
That should have been sponsored by WD-40, I think, at one point.
That would have been cracking.
Hey, Digital Dan. Cracking. I just want to say hello to Digital Dan. Welcome. Oh, cool merch, by the way. Really like the look of it. So, I mean, if they did that, and like CB Vlogs has just moved the entrance to the monorail, they could put a monorail entrance there. You could have 3 stops for the monorail instead of 2.
You could even have another entrance to the park down there as well, which would make it incredibly easy for people to get in from the car parks down there and maybe sort of have 2 different entrances, perhaps.
What is it with parks, right, that cement themselves in the industry, but the access to the park is absolute dog shit, right? So, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, you can only get in from the front. You can't get in from the side like you used to be able to. You can't. Alton Towers, you have to go on a Mount Everest training course before you can even get to the entrance. So it's like breathing apparatus on the way there,
You've literally got to trek like a mile and a half, and even
it's far.
It's a good 25-minute walk from the car park.
It is far. It is far. To be honest, if I said to you, right, Joe, I'm going to build a theme park, but I'm going to build it a mile away from your house, you're going to be all right walking there, or do you want me to build a monorail, or do you want me to like put a car park that's a bit closer?
You're going to save a car park closer or a monorail, right? It's an absolute.
Yeah. It's one of them. It's a crazy. It's always been a crazy place, but it's always had its challenges. But it's always come out like amazing, shining. On the other side, everything they've done at Alton Towers, no matter how small, no matter how big, always feels massive. It
does.
CBeebies Land, huge, massive investment for the park, and for BBC as well. Obviously, they put more into it than the park, I believe. But that's brought a new audience into the park, and it's boosted the economy, and it was enabled us to have the Wicker Man effectively, And Galactica's retheme, Air's retheme to Galactica, whatever you want to think about that. So these investments open up different doors and different channels for new, bigger things in the future. Now,
indeed,
and I think Six Flags have the same kind of mentality in that respect. Would you agree, Wolf, that when they do something little, they usually follow it up?
Yeah.
Especially Great America, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
So I think in the future, this car park situation is going to be interesting. If they close the back end car park off near Forbidden Valley in the next year or so, we know what's happening, don't we?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Usually they have to just kind of work up to that, like usually with usually when one thing happens, something else comes behind it typically.
Yeah, I mean Ryan's just put up a good point. I enjoy the walk because you can catch Nemi and air testing, which is great. Yeah,
You can.
um,
I do it every time.
yeah, I love it. But I mean, if you're, if you can't walk that far, you've got one option, and that is to stand in a queue. That usually, and let's be honest, guys, the opening times for parks in the UK is crap. So you spend half your morning, waiting for the monorail if you can't walk that far. My advice to you guys is when you get into the park as close to Galactica and Nemesis as you can in the car park, and then walk, and you will save some time when you get out as well, because you'll be closer to the exit of the car park as well. A little bit of advice for you there, a little bit of a top tip for you.
I can vouch for that because I literally do that walk there and back every single time.
Yeah,
I don't regret it at all. In fact, I actually quite enjoy doing it. To be fair,
I enjoy it, but it is a hike, and especially once you've been, if you've been in a park for 8 hours, especially during Scarefest and fireworks.
Yeah, that is true. It's quite draining, but it's good.
It is good. It adds to the experience, but I mean, having the exit now where Galactica is has saved so much time. Like you can literally just fireworks night. You can just separate from the massive of people and just walk to Forbidden Valley, hit Nemesis a couple of times, straight out the door, and you're off. And then that's the best way.
I'm sorry, mate.
It's okay. Go on.
I'm surprised they don't do that. To be honest with you, I really am, genuinely. So,
yeah. So so that's Alton Towers car park. Now, Wolf, you wanted to touch on Indiana Beach, a bit of a situation about that, right?
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot to say because I wasn't able to find much more on it, but I guess from what I understand, Apex, who owned Indiana Beach, they weren't supposed to start moving out rides just yet. This was like in terms of selling them off. I bet they were just seen in the last couple of days starting to move some flat rides. I don't know what the deal is with that, but from what I understand, they weren't supposed to move them because I guess Indiana was trying to find a buyer, and I don't know if they have any lined up or not, but I guess they weren't supposed to be moving rides yet, but they were. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot to talk on it, but I just know that from what I understand, they weren't supposed to move those rides yet. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens going forward with that, and if anything happens at all, really.
Do you think that's part of a deal with someone?
It could be, yeah, because they auctioned off like the games and stuff.
The arcades and all that, yeah.
Yeah, like the games, the arcades, like all the arcade stuff. Yeah, they did that first, which that was through I forget, I think it was something like with Coin something, and they were like auctioning off stuff, and I don't know if if the games were just rented or how that worked, but first the games went, and then a couple of the flats went. So something, I think Apex had something lined up somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where, but something's up somewhere. Definitely.
Now, would you? So, I mean, obviously, you get a bit more earlier news than we do about that with you being in the States. So, there was a lot of talk about on private groups and stuff. Well, not private groups, but groups on Facebook about who would take over and who would buy out. Indiana Beach. Sorry, I just looked at the chat then. Indiana Beach. Now, do you know who or when things were kind of rumored to move forward with actually someone buying out Indiana Beach, or?
It was a couple weeks ago, I think it was, when the rumors were going around that Fun Spot was supposed to buy the park.
That's the one. I couldn't think of the name. Yep. Yeah, Fun Spot.
But then that got shut down pretty quickly because Fun Spot kind of played around with like being the ones to check it out, and kind of I guess we're going there, and I don't know if they were just looking at rides or what they were doing, but they were kind of hyping up people and misleading people to thinking they were going to buy it, and then they came out with an announcement, I think like 24 or 48 hours later, stating that they were not, was not in their plan to buy Indiana Beach.
So they
That left a
used
lot of
it.
people.
So they used the
Yeah,
park closing down for their marketing campaign to try and play the good guy.
I think that's kind of what it looks like to me, and I think they were probably
Nice.
trying to get some of those. Yeah, I think they're trying to get some of those flats. But they definitely pulled a lot of heartstrings with a lot of people messing around and saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, we'll go for it," and then they're like, "Oh well, sorry, no, we're not." So I kind of get it. Like I said before in past like streams and stuff that we've had. I have family that's been going there for over 30 years, and I'm sure there's other people that families have been going with families longer than that. That are that that's like their place to be. It's like where they spend their summers, and now it's gone. So it's like what
Yeah.
happens now?
So a
Yeah.
lot of people. So you compared it to in the news when we did the news on it when it drops that it was closing down for good. That a lot of families used to use that as a summer retreat in the States, right? It was like a Blackpool for you guys, what we kind of would
Yeah,
use Blackpool
yeah.
for.
You could say that. Yeah, because I mean, it's like basically most of it's on water, and it's kind of like a Blackpool. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Well,
Yeah.
it's got old classic rides as well,
Yes,
like
that's the
some
other. Yep.
absolute classic coasters in there, and they
Yeah,
they looked incredible. And that's one thing that always draws me to Pleasure Beach is the classic rides, but there's a point where you have to kind of say, okay, it hurts my back too much now. So, but no, it's good. I think it's a good thing that they're auctioning off things. Hear me out, because I believe that means they're moving forward with the plans that they have. Now, these
All
companies
right.
are so big, it takes ages for things to take effect. Now, this sounds to me like it's phase one or phase two of an overhaul. And if they do, let's put it this way: if they're transparent with what they do, then I think people are going to support them regardless. Because at the end of the day, they're either going to redevelop the area, or it's going to stay the same, and someone else is going to reopen. So you've got to kind of think there is a silver lining in all of this for Indiana Beach. I
Mhm.
personally think it will reopen, um,
Yeah.
but with less attractions, less probably a very very cheap ticket price. But it will just get back on its feet, and hopefully we can get back to riding. Because I know a lot of people, even some famous YouTubers, haven't even been to Indiana Beach. It's one of them places where everybody kind of goes, "Yeah, it's like an
Yeah.
RCT park. It's got some cool rides in there. They want to ride."
It's really off the wall. I mean, the whole park was just interesting, and like I know Taylor from Coaster Studios talked in his video before. He's like, you walk past a couple of sketchy hotels and stuff on the way into this park, which you literally do if you walk to
Bro.
this park. They have, like I
You're
said, with
making
my
it sound
family.
like Blackpool more and more.
It
Yeah,
actually genuinely does, yeah.
like I said with like I said with my
Sketchy.
family being right there, they had the campground right there, which is just minutes away from the park, and they would take the trolley there or they would walk, one of the two.
Mm.
And literally, there was a couple of sketchy like hotels, couple of houses, like random ones that are like basically near the water. But yeah, the park was interesting. It had all kind of different like stuff there. So it's one of those parks you hope to see reopen, but it
Yeah.
we don't really know at this point in time, but I'm with you. I kind of think that eventually it will reopen because there's a lot of history there, and somebody will look to pick up that park, I'm sure, because it has potential. And if no one does, Indiana, like at least that part of Indiana, is gonna hurt really bad. It's not just because of it's upset that it's gone, but other like small businesses and stuff around there, I think are that's where people went there for.
Well, yeah,
You know,
it would have brought the customer in, wouldn't it? And obviously, then that would have added the financial support for the businesses in the local area. And so it's not just a big loss in terms of a park; it's a big loss in terms of the economy, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially
yes.
for that
Yeah,
part of the states. Yeah, I mean, it
yeah,
obviously drew a lot. It obviously drew money because a lot of people went there.
Yep,
exactly. Yeah,
and basically it's in the middle of Six Flags and Cedar Point and Kings Island. Basically, it's in the
Wow.
middle of those. Yeah,
goodness me, so it's in a big area then.
yeah.
So its
I mean, it's not
uniqueness
like
in rides then would be the draw, right?
Yeah, and there was somebody that was I'm in the Indiana Beach group, and there's this one lady saying, they should just get rid of the rides and go back to what it was before. It was a beach and just have bands. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well,
Who's gonna pay
in
for
this day
that?
and age, yeah, in this day and age, no one is gonna go to that unless you're a local, because those rides are what pulled people in from everywhere. No one's gonna travel 2-3 hours just to go watch a band
No.
when they literally could
No.
drive a couple more hours and go to Great America, or a bigger park as in Cedar Point or Kings Island, depending on, Indiana Beach wasn't like one of those must go to parks, but if you had the opportunity, you should take it because it's interesting. It's not like one of
Yeah.
those like you have to go, but yeah,
So you've been, right?
yeah, I've been there twice. When I was a
What
little
was it
kid.
like? What was the atmosphere like in the park? Just kind of give us a bit of an insight into what it was like, walking through the gates and what you saw to what you expected. Was it as big as you thought? Was it it was a bit smaller? Did it live up to expectations, or did it, not live up to the hype?
It's a decent size. It's not. Excuse me. It's not huge. Now, the first time I was there, I was only like 2 years old, so I didn't have a lot of memory other than feeding the carp when I was that little. But
Nice.
one of the coasters were there. But as I got older, the last time I went was just a few years ago. That's when I finally got to go and actually ride all of the rides and get to see what this park was. Well, I guess Boardwalk was really like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't too crowded. They were kind of short staffed, so some rides didn't open until later.
Mm.
Such as the Lost Coaster.
Mm-hmm.
The That one opened up kind of late, but it wasn't a bad park. Not too crowded. Um, Short staffed, which I think that was just a problem near the end. I'm not really sure how it was years before, but it wasn't bad. It was a good experience. I've been to that park more than twice because I went every day that I was out there. So I guess that you could say I've been there 3 or 4 times because we were there for, I think, 3 or 4 days, and I went every day. So
Of course you did.
uh, yeah, so
Very
I
nice.
spent I spent my time there, and it was fun. It was like I said, not too crowded. I think the longest wait we had for a ride was maybe 10 minutes, so it's not like it was really that bad. I mean, even with, because a lot of the a lot of the coasters were one train operation, except for Steel Hog. Steel Hog
Mhm.
ran, I think, 3 trains, 3 or 4.
Wow.
I want
Is
to
that
say it
what
was three
Mumbo
or four.
Jumbo runs, Joe?
To be honest, actually, it's more 2 or 3. I think with Mumbo Jumbo, you got the potential to run 5 on those things. They could actually feasibly do that. So,
Wow.
Yeah, that
mm,
because you figure there's the lift, which is a block, and then you have that break after that. After the drop and it turns around, there's a break there. And there's another break a little underneath behind it. Then you have the multiple breaks behind the
yeah.
station. So yeah, you definitely have the room to run quite a few.
Mm.
Yeah, that ride was probably one of the more popular. But I know the one of the last days I was there, it was kind of like it was really like just drizzling, but it was scaring people away. So I got to marathon Steel Hog,
Nice.
which that was
That's
fun.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
what you
just
want.
yeah, it's a good ride. They have, and
That could be
with
us at Towers, that Joe.
I reckon so.
That could be the
yeah,
situation if
yeah,
it's quiet. Phew.
Absolutely, yeah. We're just like marathon
definitely.
anything and everything we possibly can do.
Yeah, definitely. So overall, you enjoyed Indiana Beach and what it had to
Yes.
offer, basically. And what was your favorite ride there then, in terms of like coasters and flats and kind of stuff?
Well, the maybe the flats for me.
Mm.
I'd probably have to say the swings because it's over the water. I mean, once you start kind of, getting out, you're literally over the water, or at least it feels like you're over the water, because that ride's already on the water,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're once you know how those swings are,
Cool.
they kind of go out over the platform a little bit.
The chair
So,
swing, yeah, with
yeah, the chair swing.
did they
Yep,
have
where it goes
did
through
they
the
have the
circle.
jets? Did they have the jets?
No jets,
No jets, no.
but you actually walk over a bridge, like a arced bridge,
Wow,
to
cool.
get to the ride. So yeah, it wasn't like a really high arc, but it was a little
Yeah,
arc,
but it put you
and
Wow.
over the
then
water, basically.
yeah, to get you over to that other side, and
That's
then
epic.
of course I'd probably say Steel Hog
Yeah, okay.
was my favorite coasters. Although the wooden coasters are awesome, I'd say in terms of like steel and being like different, I guess you can only say Steel Hog. That's like they're probably legit. That's their best steel coaster there because they have a kitty one too. But
Did you get the
but out of
cred?
the out of, yeah, I did
Of course you
actually.
did.
My uncle and them were like, "There's no way they're gonna let you on. You probably have to take one of your cousins with you because they're little." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Watch, I'll get on this thing," and they didn't say a word to me about it. We actually almost stalled because it was me and the ride op basically because I was the only one in line. And so here I am getting on this ride, and the ride op gets on with me. I think so. So it balances out the terrain. So like here we are,
Good
we're
stuff,
like
right?
stalling near the end. I'm like, this is fun, I guess. The laterals were interesting, because it
Yeah,
banks so early.
yeah.
Uh, I think out of the two wooden coasters, though, I'd probably have to say Cornball Express is the better of the two,
Yeah.
just in terms of how intense it is. Like, although Cornball is really good, and I'm not degrading Cornball, but I'm sorry, who's your Hurricane? Cornball, I don't know, it has like a really interesting layout because I guess it's smaller, but it's more kind of packed in.
Has some big drops,
Um,
right, as well. Does have some big
yeah,
drops, that right?
it does have some big drops and the way it's supported too. It's supported right over a kids area, so it's all like
Wow.
those like C beam kind of things. Yeah, it's really
Cool.
interesting. It's all over a kids area, so it's an interesting time. The Helix especially is over the kids area, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
All in all, it was a good park, and I hope that it does reopen because
Absolutely.
a lot of memories there, and there's a lot to experience, even though it's a little park.
And it has
Lost
a big
Coaster,
following as well, right? It does have a big following.
yeah,
People are buying season
yeah,
passes, for example, and wanted to know what was going to happen with their season passes. That
yes, a
shows you
lot of
that
people.
they were going to the end, guys. Like literally getting to the end of whatever they were trying to figure out with the councils or whatever they were trying to do with the governing bodies or whatever. I don't know what you call
Yeah,
it over there. And they literally
yeah.
got to the end, and it was like, we can't do it.
And they even had a job fair like 2 weeks before
That's
announcing its
right, they
closure.
did. Yeah, you mentioned that in the news when we did that. Yeah, they had a
Yeah,
job
they
fair.
had a job fair, so
Oh
it
my
was like,
god.
that. I don't know if that was just because they just didn't have enough people or what happened there. Because they never said they were gonna close, and that was just kind of out of nowhere. Um, yeah, so that's interesting.
And I mean, going back to what we spoke about earlier on in the podcast. Hello to everybody new in the chat, by the way. It's nice to see some new faces in there. In terms of the coronavirus, we've got to think about the staff as well at these places. At the end of the day, they're doing seasonal work, and if they can't be at work, then they're not getting any money in. So I want a big shout out to all the theme park staff who are currently about to start their theme park season with this terrible thing that's going on. We just hope that everything gets sorted out for you guys as well as
really
us,
do.
the enthusiasts, and we
Yeah.
hope that everybody stays safe and looks after each other.
Yeah.
100%.
Same with like not just theme parks, but like all the sports as well. Which
Just everything. Just hope everybody
yeah,
just looks after each
the
other, look after the elderly guys, and
Definitely.
and I believe I just saw that March Madness as well has been just canceled. They canceled the
wow.
whole thing. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And
So
SmackDown is not coming from an arena. Well, not a big arena. It's coming from the Performance Center, which I'm actually probably going to tune in for that because I really liked NXT at the Performance Center, and for them to be doing SmackDown at the Performance Center, that's going to be really cool. I wonder how they're going to do it. It's going to be like a live event, I think. It's going to be really cool.
yeah, like like we were saying, it's gonna be kind of like an indie show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Back in the bingo halls, right?
Yep.
All right, then. So let's head back to the chat as we close out the podcast. So we're going to go back to where we finished off. I believe we was talking about what we were going to put in for Secret Weapon 9. Definitely need to work on the rapids. It's not aged well. Do you have on that? Taron? Yeah, something like Taron would be cool following the rapids track. I agree with that.
Definitely.
And we might remove rapids or get them 100% operating. Yeah. Julie's my favorite. Yeah. Awesome. I like Jewel. Jewel's great. Digital Dan said hello and said cheers means a lot about his much. Yeah, make sure you go and check out Digital Dan's YouTube channel as well, guys, and follow him on social media.
Absolutely.
And we've got I never read the book. Oh, David Williams. World looks awesome. Really David Williams. I always say it wrong.
Yeah.
David Williams. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
David Williams, right. David Williams' world looks awesome.
Amazing.
It does. It looks really cool. So the theming looks on par with CBeebies Land from what I've seen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'd imagine it'd be probably the same people who actually built the facades and stuff for the rides in CBeebies Land that have actually been doing it. But it looks the area doesn't matter if you don't like kids rides. Doesn't matter if you don't like dark rides. Doesn't matter if you don't like the investment. But it looks nice and clean and new and modern. It looks cool. So that is
it's
a positive.
A rejuvenation of Cloud Cuckoo Land, which has been needed for years. Let's face
Absolutely.
The fact the park have set up and taken notice of that and actually done with it, bravo, guys. Well done.
Yeah, well done, Alton Towers. And I'm very, very excited to ride Gangster Granny just to see what's going on in terms as well. You know, it's a new dark ride for the UK, like we spoke about. Ryan Delaney says last fireworks night, it came off Wicker Man and we got told to walk through the backstage area, which was really weird, you know. Oh wow, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's an evac cred there. I'd love to see backstage area. You're a lucky sod. So when the Wicker Man was being built and the fireworks was in 2017, I believe it was. We actually walked via the access underneath the first drop, and it was actually open to get back to Forbidden Valley and out of the park, the back way by Galactica there.
Wow.
I do have pictures of that actually. I'll show you them, Joe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm literally right next to the first drop, and there's a fence either side of me. There's a pathway that runs through the Wicker Man, and you literally stood on that path. It was epic.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is cool. Hey, CoasterGen, it's me again, Tony Maddox. Hey, Tony Maddox, how you doing? Jack is working at Towers. Okay, cool. So, any more questions in the chat, guys? Any more topics you want us to cover? Let us know. Anything you want to add?
One topic actually that we did mention earlier on prior to this was the testing of Emperor over at SeaWorld San Diego.
Absolutely.
That dive coaster looks absolutely insane. Some of the elements on that looks amazing as well. So that's a really good investment. And the way it goes through them as well just looks like it's going to be a cracking ride overall. So
it looks like the quickest B&M dive coaster I've seen in terms of flow through the layout as well. Have you seen this, Wolf? I don't think he's there. I think he's had to pull out a minute. Yeah, but it looks quick. The drop looks awesome. It just looks really quick and very intense compared to, let's say, any of the others that have been built. Like, it looks more intense than Baron, and it's the same kind of style. It's higher, I know that, but it does pack a punch by the looks of things, and I'm looking forward to seeing a POV of that.
I am, to be honest, actually, as well. Yeah, and yesterday vlogs, Iron Gwazi really does.
Yeah, Iron Gwazi looks fantastic. Are you back, Wolf?
I'm back, yeah.
Okay, we're just talking about Emperor at San Diego SeaWorld. What do you think of that? The dive coaster.
Oh, yeah. It looks awesome. I like the color scheme.
Yeah, and what do you think about the speed that it goes through the elements? Obviously, you're doing a lot of B&M dives on your channel, and with no limits. It looks like it exceeds the intensity of many other dive coasters that I've seen as well. Would you agree with that?
I'd say so, yeah. It looks good.
It looks quick.
Even like compared to like Yukon Striker as well, what sort of height that thing has, it even looks quicker than that. So that's really impressive.
Well, is Yukon? Do they have different trains, Wolf?
Yukon and Emperor.
Yeah.
Right?
Or they have the same train.
I think they're different trains.
I think Yukon's slightly heavier and wider.
Yeah, these ones only Emperor only have 6.
Right.
And let me check Yukon real quick.
Yukon might have 8, I believe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's the bigger train. Let's see. Yes, it's the bigger. Yeah, it's the bigger trains.
Which is why, and a lot of people comment on it as well in No Limits recreations and creations of dive coasters. Why are you going so slow through the elements, guys? Them trains are massive. Like, imagine Oblivion's train doing a dive loop, and then just think about how big they actually are. Like, that'd be huge. Insane. Right? Imagine seeing that track twist like that, and that's what you've got to imagine with these coasters that you design in No Limits. Like, you don't get a good scale out of it.
Yeah, really. It's just like the wing coasters too. The wing coasters have to go slow through the because they're so far out laterally that would not be comfortable. That's really the other thing too that people don't consider, like, oh, it's so slow, but realistically it's about 15, 20 miles an hour, which yeah, that's slow, but that's just right for that style, because anything faster wouldn't be, it just wouldn't be
Just wouldn't
comfortable.
work.
No,
Yeah.
especially not on the wings. I mean, Furious Backer is a wing coaster, so to speak, and when you go through the Heartline roll on that, it's very painful sometimes. Yeah, so
Yeah.
going quick through them inversions is not probably the best of ideas. And even the Swarm, when you get around that turnaround before the corkscrew, which you'll find out, Joe, is very
Looking forward
intense.
to that.
The G-force is very, very intense.
Can't wait for that.
Okay, so Ryan Delaney just says, "What's your opinion on Rise of the Resistance, Disney?" Yeah, it looks incredible. One of the things that I think that is cool about the whole Star Wars aspect of Disney is the fact that the other attractions they have, like you could build your own lightsaber for $200, but you like literally build it in like a Jedi temple with a Jedi master showing you what you're doing. Loads of people sat around the table, and you've all got different pieces of lightsabers, and you go on with a lightsaber at the end. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's $200, but you could go into any forbidden planet and spend 200, 300, 400 pounds or dollars on, a lightsaber replica. And this one you've built yourself in Disney,
Which
it's
is
pretty cool.
worth it in its own right. I mean, you could spend more than that on hot toy figures. So.
You could, and Funko Pops. Yeah, you could. You definitely
Indeed,
could.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan's got another question for us. He says, "What's your favourite coaster type?" What do you reckon?
I'm torn between B&M Hyper. I haven't experienced a Giga yet, but B&M Hyper. So like Shambhala is my favorite ride currently. But other than that, Mac. So B&M, I would say, is my favorite overall manufacturer. Ride Shambhala. The coaster type, I'd say B&M.
I'd agree. B&M are absolutely cracking. I mean, our favourite coaster, or rather my favourite coaster overall, is Nemesis. Always has been. It literally just got knocked off the top briefly by Icon, but it's still gone back to Nemesis again. And then when you obviously couple the fact of Oblivion and various other B&M coasters, just bearing in mind, guys, I haven't ridden a massive amount abroad. So that is going to change in the next couple of years. But at the moment, I am primarily stuck to the UK. So for me, B&M, hands down.
Wolf, what about you?
B&M and RMC, those two together, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need an RMC, big time.
I need an RMC.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds like a stiff drink.
Need an RMC, dude.
Let's have an RMC. We should make a drink called the RMC when we get to Florida. We'll mix some cocktails.
Six Flags does it with their
That sounds good to me.
drink names. They have an alcoholic drink at Six Flags called the Goliath. So
nice.
Yeah.
And very good.
It's a blue color.
Very nice.
Yeah, my friends get it. I don't get it, but they get it.
Yeah.
They like it. I don't drink. Kind of can't, but.
Yeah. Good evening, Mikhail, by the way. Sorry. What's up?
Yeah, what's up? So, actually, you're probably coming at the wrong time because we are about to end the podcast. We do like to try and keep them to an hour long. But yeah, guys, make sure you check out Theme Park Insanity on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. The links are in the video description. Make sure you subscribe. Yep. Make sure you subscribe to Wolf on YouTube and follow him on his socials. The links will be added to the description. Sorry, Wolf, I didn't add them before the podcast, but I'll add them back in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Did you want to say something, Joe? Sorry.
Yeah. So I was just about to say we are actually on Reddit now as well. So,
oh, cool.
And just give us a bit of support as well. Still trying to start out. So yeah, drop by and say hi.
Awesome. Yeah. So we hope you've enjoyed the podcast this evening. It's been a pleasure as always talking to you guys in the chat. Just to let you know, we have a No Limits video dropping on Saturday. It's a wooden coaster. It's a Timberliner. It's an absolute speed demon, and that is the name of it. So look forward to that, and we will be back Sunday evening for a Ride Sims Smiler stream around about 9 p.m. again, and then back next Thursday for the podcast, hopefully with the full group. So yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on all our socials. And I've been Luke. He's been Joe from Theme Park Insanity. He's been Wolf Raging 95. And we've been Keep You in the Loop podcast. See you next time, guys.
See you all soon.
See ya.